Now, more than 20,000 children have now been killed by the Israeli military in Gaza since the war began. Save the Children says at least one child has been killed every hour on average, and at least 1,000 of them were under the age of 1. Others have been either left with lifelong injuries or trauma. The United Nations says more than 40,000 young Palestinians have suffered new war-related injuries, leaving more than half of them disabled. Well, let's speak to Rachel Cummings about this. She's the humanitarian director for Save the Children and is joining us from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. The scope of this tragedy is really unimaginable. At least one Palestinian child killed every hour in the last 23 months. What does that actually mean in human terms for families in Gaza? How should the world understand the lived reality behind these statistics?
Children are facing a catastrophe in Gaza, and these new statistics, this new data is absolutely shocking, and the world should be shocked at this. One child is killed every hour. This is a preventable death within Gaza. It's absolutely shocking. And of course, the impact not only on the population of Gaza, with 2% of all children being killed since the beginning of the war, but of course the personal impact on mothers, fathers and families is unfathomable. Women and mothers are sharing with us how painful every day is to keep going. They keep going for the remainder of their children and for their families, but the loss of a child in such a brutal way, they have shared with us, they had no opportunity to say goodbye. They had no opportunity to share one last hug or to tell them one last time that they loved them. And these are deeply personal and tragic stories that people are sharing with us, because this is deep trauma that people are experiencing. So it's a catastrophe for children in Gaza that we're seeing here.
Right. For any parent, the loss of a child is unimaginable. But as you say, to have it happen in these circumstances in such a brutal way is just undescribable. I imagine, beyond these numbers, Rachel, how do these losses affect Gaza's entire child generation? Not just, socially, but psychologically, and for the prospects of any post-conflict recovery.
Exactly. And, this is at scale, of course. We have 20,000 children that have been killed, over 40,000 children injured, and over 20,000 children left with severe disabilities. So the issue is not only, of course, the children that have been killed, but those children that are surviving with lifelong injuries. And, the mental health status of children now is very, very fragile. And what Save the Children does, along with our partners, is try to support children to share their emotions, to connect with other children, to allow to be children. But of course, the long-term impacts of this war on the mental health of all children, and actually the whole population of Gaza, what the role Save the Children, we need to be able to provide hope for children and their families. We do that through activities, community engagement and discussions, but the impact on a whole generation is deeply, deeply concerning.
Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us about this. Rachel Cummings, humanitarian director for Save the Children, joining us there from Gaza. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.